welcome back to the Late Night Gamer. And it's been quite a while since my last video, but today I'm going to kick off Christmas with Frontline D-Day by DVG Games. So one of my viewers wanted me to make a playthrough of this game and kindly donated this copy to me. So thank you very much, Ron, Board Game Geek user E01. This video is for you. I also, of course, has an interest in this game because it's it can be played solitaire. It's a card game and it's from DVG. I already did Warfighter on my channel, so this is sort of pre-Warfighter. This is from 2010, so it's going to be very interesting to see what kind of elements are in Frontline D-Day and what has been carried on into Warfighter and what has been left out. So this first episode I'm going to just introduce the game, go through the components, and perhaps set up the game if there is time for that. And then, as usual, we will dive straight into the gameplay in episode 2. So, Frontline D-Day, let's have a look what comes with the game. Well, there's a rulebook, of course. There are some cheats which I've sorted. We do have soldier cards. So the British flag gives away that this is the British soldiers. And this is Corporal Jackson. The US also comes with troops. And funny enough, this is Lieutenant Sobel. For those of you who are familiar with the history of Band of Brothers. Sobel is a familiar figure. I don't think it's him, but it certainly looks like him. So, Lieutenant Sobel. Yeah, the white balance was a bit off on the camera. I tried to adjust it. So, okay, Sobel. Of course, Germany is also present. The enemies. A Grenadier Hamel. Well, I just flipped one of these. There are many, of course, in the stack. And there are terrain cards, which are the card we will fight on. So it's a purely pure card game. There's no board in that sense, but we build the board with these cards here. The different terrains, scattered trees, stream, undergrowth, and so forth. We also have some action cards that drives the actions, that drives what we can do. So we'll have a hand limit or a hand size, and we will play cards like this fallback, which is a lasting effect card, instant, can we play instantly. Yeah, this is an attack card, and so forth. And we'll go through these cards when we get them and we draw them in our hand to see what they can do in the game. Since we're playing solitaire, we also need this small deck of solitaire cards, and basically it's an AI that tells us what the enemy will do when it's the enemy's turn. The last thing in the box is this sheet here, which helps us remember the turns and calculate firepower, and also what the different phases of the games are and what we can do in the different phases. So that's basically, well, that is it actually. There's no more components. We also need a cup to blindly draw cheats from to tell us what kind of wounds or effects the fire that you're under will have on the squad. So I've been having a little bit of trouble with the rules. I have to tell it straight away that they are not as clear in every aspect as you may wish. And I do understand that people have problems with understanding the game fully just by reading the rules and trying to look up every effect. What mainly now is my problem, I will show it, well, to illustrate it, I will use this Grenadier. So this here is Hamel, and Hamel has some numbers, and this is, well, above the line is the range and below the line is his firepower. The black numbers is his single shot mode, and the red numbers are his rapid fire mode, where you also will use ammunition when he fires. So they are depicted in red and black, no problems there, pretty clear. And then you have this guy. This guy has a rocket launcher, and here the red numbers indicates not rapid fire, but it indicates anti-armor capability. It's also indicated by these arrows. Now it gets complicated, because then let's have a look at this tank, and it has both black and red numbers. Assuming the black numbers now are not anti-armor, but the red numbers are anti-armor. That's all well and good. The rule says that you can absolutely use your anti-armor against normal infantry. So in this case there is no reason for him to use the black numbers, because the red numbers are higher. But there also is a shell here, meaning probably that when he fires the red number he will discard the shell. So it's really some kind of rapid fire. It seems to mean to me, the way I interpret this is that if he wants to fire with the anti-armor capability, he will use the shell and use the number 22 regardless of his target. But if he fires his black number, he will not use his shell. He will, or then using, well, it's still his 75 main cannon, so, but yeah, that's how I think it is. He will not be using his shell then, or yeah, his cartridge. That's how I think it is. If anybody thinks otherwise, please let me know. It is complicated, and it's not understandable by just reading the rules. Alright, components are spread all out over the table, so let's set up the game. So this rulebook is very thick, but it also comes with quite a few scenarios. No, the first is number 1, so it's 19 scenarios. And there's also solitary instructions and instruction for playing a campaign game. So let's start with Pegasus Bridge. It's the dawn of June 6, 1944, and the history here is well known to people that are interested in World War II well, history or happenings. What will happen here is that we will have some UK units coming in, a glider-borne force. This is just after D-Day, and they are trying to take the bridges so the Germans cannot drive over the bridges to reinforce their battalions or their regiments that are facing the Allied invasion. So that's basically the duration of the game is, or it's 8 turns, and it tells you which terrain cards to use. So just zooming in on terrain card, we will see that terrain number 1 to 9, it's always 9 terrains, going from 1 to 9. It starts with scattered trees. So we will find terrain number 1, scattered trees, number 1, scattered trees. There are also scattered trees with a different number, but we will always lay out the terrain from 1 to 9. So number 1 is scattered trees, number 2 is burnout buildings. We'll have burnout buildings here, number 2. Oh, and these cards are double-sided. So this is number 2, high ground. We're not having that in this scenario, but now, so it's number 2, burnout buildings, and you can see here that this is a heavy cover terrain. It has some effect as well. Number 3 is stream, and the stream is a light terrain, light cover, some effects of course. And in this game, this stream represents Pegasus Bridge. The Germans must not recapture Pegasus Bridge. So I just 4 again is burnout buildings. 5 is open ground. 6 is undergrowth. 7 is high ground, open ground, and 9 scattered trees. Remember in Warfighter, we laid out the terrain like this, and we went with the squad from terrain to terrain. We will also go now in this game from terrain to terrain, but there are no chits representing your soldiers, so you'll have to use the cards, and the game suggests a different setup. Let me show you. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So when we will select our squad, we will lay out the squad like this. Now I'm just doing this as an example. And to remember which terrain the squad is on, we will put the terrain in front of the squad. So when the squad moves, we'll just swap the terrains like this. Well, the scenarios tells us which soldiers to use and where we should start. It's the Brits that are going to face the Germans. It says turn 1. And we'll come on turn 1 on terrain card number 2. And Morris is the lead unit, the commander if you like, of the formation. And the formation consists of Jones, Roberts and Davis. We have another leader, Jackson, who leads Bell. So this here is Jackson. This is his morale, and this is how many troops, including himself, he can lead. So he is leading somebody called Bell. There we have good old Bell. Bell is carrying a Lee Enfield rifle. He doesn't have any command points, so he can never be commander. Well, he can, but we come to that if that happens. He can be field promoted. His morale is 2. The other formation is led by Morris. He is a powerful leader. He can lead 4 units, including himself, and that is what he's going to do. He's going to lead Jones, Davis, and Roberts. And they were supposed to be on terrain card number 2, so we put terrain card number 2 in front of both formations. Let's have a closer look on Morris. This is his victory points, and that is what he is going to give the enemy in terms of victory points if he is defeated. He can carry 1 equipment. You get to choose the equipment. And his tactics says that we'll get a +1 hand size by having Morris. Fantastic. And he just have a revolver, so he has very limited firepower. But he has 2 modes on his revolver, a quick mode and a single shot mode, meaning he will get ammunition counter. If he decides to use his rapid fire, his red numbers, we will have to discard this ammunition. So now he can't fire his gun in any mode. So then he will have to take a prepare action to reload his gun. Here you have unlimited number of ammunition, so it's really not big deal in that sense. You don't have the same ammunition, you just have to make sure that you have ammunition when you need it. So what kind of equipment can he have? Well, these equipment are supposed to be secret. You're supposed to put it like this so your opponent doesn't see what it is until you are using it. But in this scenario, when you're playing the artificial intelligence, it doesn't matter, of course. So a hand grenade will increase my firepower. So I'm thinking of taking that. That sounds like a good option. The bandages will remove wounds, but I'm not taking that on my sergeant. There are some rifle grenades which he can fix to his rifle, but Morris doesn't have a rifle, he has a revolver, so he can't use that either. So a canteen will give me an extra action card if I discard this equipment. Interesting. So the shovel, I can make this guy discard the shovel to give him 5 more extra cover. So he basically digs in. Binoculars makes him able to take back the top card of the discard pile. He's using his binoculars, but I'm going to have a hand grenade on Morris because he has so lousy firepower. Okay, his man Robert is a medic, so it makes absolutely no sense to give him anything but bandages because he is a medic. He can use these bandages without discarding them. He does not expend bandages. He has a rifle, so he also needs this ammunition counter. Davis, he can actually have 3 equipment. That's very interesting. One of the equipments is for sure some hand grenades. I will also give him, while I'm at it, the ammunition counter. Hand grenade, what else? Rifle grenade, gives me more firepower. And I think the binoculars, so we can take back 1 action card from the discard pile, the top of the discard pile. The last guy is Jones. He can't carry any equipment, but he will have his ammunition counter. Let's head over to squad number 2, formation 2. Corporal Jackson you do have a grenade, because he is actually carrying a rocket launcher, so he has a grenade with anti-armor capability, and he doesn't have any other weapons. So he has only red numbers and no black numbers. It means that every time he fires, he will use one of these grenades. And this is not an equipment, because it has the picture of grenade on each side. The rifle grenade looks of course different, but in addition it has the word equipment written on it. So okay, so he is well, this Panzer, well, it's not, this bazooka, this rocket launcher is considered a one-time weapon, so he has to fire it, discard it, and get a new one. So he is considered to have an unlimited number in supply. He just needs to do the refit action. No, it's not called refit, it's called a prepare action. So you just have to do the prepare action, and then he will reload or get a new rocket launcher. Right, we have Private Bell, and Private Bell looks like he only has a knife, but he actually has a rifle. Okay. So what I have to do with the Brits is to kill 18 victory points of German forces, or keep the Germans from achieving their victory conditions. And the German have to kill 15 of my forces, or 15 victory points worth of my forces, or hold terrain card number 3 at the end of any player's turn. So terrain card number 3 is this stream, which represents Pegasus Bridge. So if the Germans take the bridge at the end of any turn, I immediately lose. Speaking of Germans, let's go to the setup instructions and pick out the Germans. As we can see, the Germans come on in different turns. In turn number 1, they are a certain number of troops on card number 9, but on 2, 3, 4 and 5 more and more Germans are coming on. So that's going to be a tough battle, I think. In turn number 1, we'll have Siegel leading Fischer, Hamel and Tafel. German forces here all on train card number 9. There's also is a Kubelwagen. Now we will put out the counters for them as well. The machine gunner has a different kind of ammunition, and you are limited by the counter mix. So the other men will have their ammunition. Right, and the Kubelwagen doesn't have any ammunition, doesn't need any counter. And now the number of equipments that the Germans have is 2 for the medics and 1 for Tafel here, which is a grenadier. But it works differently for the AI. That we will just make a pool of equipments. So they will have 3 equipments in total. 1 for Tafel and 2 for Fischer. And you will see throughout the game how they use equipment. The AI card will say discard 1 equipment for this and this effect. So that's how they use it. So this game actually requires quite a lot of space. So I'm going to move the terrains way over there so that I can have more squads building up here on the German side. You will also take the hit counters and put them in a cup, and I'm using my dreaded Moomin cup. Taking the solitaire deck and I'm shuffling it. The same with the action cards. I'm going to shuffle the action cards. So I also need to keep track of which formation has acted or not. So in the beginning of the game, of course, nobody has acted, so I'm putting down this not acted counter, and when they have acted, we flip it to acted. Because every phase, the formation can only act once. So here's my aid sheet. I will use this firepower counter to calculate firepower whenever necessary. The turn counter just reminds me whose turn it is, and that can be put on the table actually. Yeah, so we done set up. We have selected sites, we laid out the terrain, we have bought our soldiers. Well, it's all determined by the setup in this scenario. The sections are formed, the equipments, and now we have to deal action cards. And then we can actually start the game. Okay, so what are my hand size? Well, my hand size equals to the number of cards I hold with my men, and plus the number of formations I have, plus any modifiers. So I have all my men on terrain card number 2, and I know there are no Germans behind me because they are on 9. That means that I hold 2 cards that That is 2 action cards for that. Then I do have 2 formations, Morris and Jackson. It's 2 more cards. And the good old Morris gives me +1 hand size. Right. Alright, so what did I get? I get Pour It On, Obscured, instant card, instant effect, Dig In, so I get more cover. That's okay. Hit the Dirt, play during the cover step to get 4 more cover. Fantastic. If I'm fired upon, the last one is Fall Back. So then I can retreat and I take my wounded and pinned men with me. Okay, so this is my action cards. The white balance was off again, so I tried to change it. So the greens should now be green. Okay. So we can see here that I can, what can I do? I can attack at least. I have an attack card, but I do not have any movement cards. But I can play any card to do a basic movement. Oops, the solitaire rule says that I must use the troop quality optional rule. And that's basically a difficulty rating. The elite and the veteran soldier forces get their start of turn pin removal. And there's also a modifier to firepower, as you can see here, but let's just go with average, because that has 0 modifier and there is no pin removal, so we don't really have to remember that. Average sounds about right also, right? These dice are special made Chessex dice that a kind viewer donated to me. And I haven't been able to feature them in the game yet, so they are now going to star, or at least this one is going to star as a turn track keeper. And they have, as you can see, an aircraft here instead of a 10 or 0. So they are designed to play Hornet Leader, Phantom Leader. So thank you very much, it's really appreciated. And I'm going to put it on 8, because this scenario is 8 turns. That's 6. What the heck is it? There's 8, and count it down as we go along. So now we need to decide who goes first. The scenario says you should do it randomly, but I'm invoking the power of solitaire, and I'm saying that I will go first. So the blue side are the Germans, and the tan side are the Allies. In this case, the UK soldiers. We go first. Right, so that's it. That's set up. We have laid out our forces, have our action cards. We are looking at the German forces as well. They are 7 cards away, 9 minus 2, 7. The numbers are neat in that sense. We are both in heavy cover, so I doubt it's going to do much good to fire. But we are ready to start the game. We'll do that next time, I think, so join me then for episode, well, second episode, but the first gameplay episode of Frontline D-Day by DVG. See you soon and take care.